Hello and welcome to episode 491 of the Mark and Me podcast. As always, I'm your host Mark. Now joining me on today's episode is Brent Smith, the frontman, the incredible vocalist, the genius from Shinedown. Now this for me personally is a huge episode. I've wanted Brent on Mark and Me for probably about 3 or 4 years now. And it all started when one of my best friends, Scott Higgins, got me into Shinedown. We met them, and I said to them, will you come on the podcast? And they're like, yeah, man, definitely, we'll make it happen. And then the festivals go by and things happen. But finally, we've got to sit down and talk. And trust me, this is one of the best interviews, not only this year, but since Mark and Me has launched. Brent is a genius. We talk in depth about the band's brand new album, which is called 8 and is out right now. We also talk about their upcoming UK tour, and we talk so much more about influences and all the stuff you now know that comes with an episode of Mark and Me. And that interview will be coming up in just a couple of minutes' time. But as always, I always like to use the intro to touch base and talk about my last episode. And, well, it was a 3-part special. I recently went to the Slam Dunk Festival here in the UK and it was amazing. I did both South and North and got to interview 12 bands over 2 days. The episodes have blown up. I've never seen my social media so busy. My Instagram followers nearly doubled. It's been absolutely wild. So thank you so much to everyone that's taken the time, all the new listeners, and I hope the people that listen to those specials are now here for the regular episodes of Mark and Me. And hey, what a great one to start it off if you're new to Mark and Me, Brent Smith from Shinedown. So what I want to do now is to get straight to this interview because, my God, there's a moment on this interview, and I won't ruin it or tease, but you will get shivers. You will get the hairs on your neck sticking up, and you'll know the moment you hear it. It's going to take your breath away, and I don't say that lightly. So without teasing you anymore, here is me and the incredible Brent Smith. So Brent, I have been waiting probably about 4 years to say these words to you. Welcome to the Mark and Me podcast.
It's my absolute pleasure. Happy to be here.
Always the best guests are worth the wait, I think. If you'd got them straight away, the fun goes. You need to be chasing.
Well, we haven't had the podcast yet. You could eat your words. I don't
There we
know.
go.
We're going to find out what happens here, man.
The pressure's on.
I know both of us.
What I do, Brent, with all guests that come on, I like to take it right back to the very beginning when I first start. So it doesn't matter if I've had actors, directors, film stars, musicians, producers. Everyone knows that first album that they were given or they bought with your own pocket money. Maybe it was an embarrassing, guilty pleasure. Maybe it's an incredible one that still changes your life today. But what was that first one that you can remember was put in your hands or you paid out your own pocket? Come on, let's hear it.
Girls, Motley Crue.
Oh, man. Why'd you have to hit hard straight away, like, boom?
10 years old, in the mall, at a record bar. That was what the store was called in America. Got to remember, this is the 80s.
Yeah.
Not only was it the first record that I purchased, it was a cassette. I actually needed help. I had to get someone because it was up. I could see it. And they were like, I'll never, like, the person was like, I was 10, but I looked a little older. I think that kind of what helped me. This was early. This was before the explicit content parental advisory sticker.
I love those stickers, man.
Yeah, this was before that. This was, oddly enough, it was imprinted in the Appetite for Destruction cassette because it was the early day of those where it had it on the. This is when like Dirty Harry. I think it was what was it? The one with Welcome to the Jungle, where Jim Carrey was actually the rock star in the movie, Clint Eastwood. I can't remember the name of that, but that was anyway, the sticker was like subjective language was like all it said. Anyway, so the guy, I'm like, can I get the Motley Crue girls? And he's like, yeah, pulls it down, gives it to me. Went up, back in the day, I think it was $5.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was the first time I bought my own album. And at the same time, it was the first time in my life that I could think to myself that I was like doing something dangerous. Like I wasn't supposed to be buying this.
This is
You know what I
naughty.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, like this is, like holy crap, I'm doing because my parents had no idea. I had a Walkman that I had hidden in my room,
Oh,
like
I love
so,
this.
like I did the whole nine, man. Like I had to sneak and what have you. But anyway, long answers. I'm notorious for that. But girls, 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 Motley Crue. That's the first one.
It's incredible as a starting point. I actually remember going to Woolworths in the UK and buying my first cassette, and it was Use Your Illusion 2, and it had the little sticker, and that's the first introduction to Parent
Now,
Advisory.
why? So two was the blue one, right? There was like
Yeah,
the orange and red, and then the it was like white, blue, and black was two,
yeah.
right? Why
I,
two?
I don't know. I just wanted to hear Guns N' Roses. I think I'd seen them on MTV, went there, bought it, asked for it for my pocket money, brought it home, and it had Get in the Ring on, and it was like, Get in the fucking ring. And I was
Hell
like,
yeah.
my parents were like, what's that? And I was like, no, it's okay. Like, don't worry. But it felt, you're right though, it felt naughty. It felt bad. I was like, I'd rewind it and play it again and be like, listen to Axel. Fuck yeah, you know.
Dude, I'll never forget listening to their debut, Appetite for
Oh,
Destruction.
wow.
Arguably, of any genre of music, arguably the greatest debut album of all time, of any genre of music.
Yeah.
And I'm about the same age, like 9, 10 years old. Um, and like listening to that voice on Welcome to the Jungle, but it wasn't that got me. It was the next song. It was It's So Easy because
Oh,
I'm
man.
like, how many singers are in the band? And because you don't realize all the low is him too.
It's
That was the big
epic.
thing that because people are like, what is the deal with Axl Rose? Like, why does this record have this like just this folklore around? It's like because nobody sounded like that. Like there wasn't even anything close to it, but it was when he goes because it goes into It's So Easy because there's no like language on Welcome to the Jungle.
No.
And then it goes into It's So Easy and he's like, I see you standing there. You think you're so cool. Why don't you just fuck off? I was like, what is happening right now? I'll never forget that.
Oh, man. It's making me want to go and listen to Guns N' Roses now.
Dude, it's the best. I listen to Appetite for Destruction at least once a month. And front to back, front to back.
It's also when everyone always forgets that it was Shannon Hoon, wasn't it, from Blind Melon, that did the backing vocals on Use Your Illusion.
Yeah, Don't You Cry.
Don't You Cry. Like, oh my God. Like, listen to those two together.
Yeah.
Epic.
Totally, man. Absolutely, man. And what once again, man, far too young.
Oh, yeah. He's up there with like Jeff Buckley for me of like, why did we not still have a world where they're still alive writing music now?
Yeah, I put that in like the same, the 27 Club,
Yeah.
probably, I think about like, I especially, more current to that, like, dude, like when Amy Winehouse
I was just
died, I
thinking
was
that
just
name.
like,
I was just thinking of her.
why? I'm like, I was like, I thought you were. Everybody was just like, I thought you were getting better, dude. That documentary is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Like
I
the one Amy, that is just, oh my god. The last 8, 10 minutes of that is just holy shit, dude.
So what about live music? So you had an incredible introduction with your first album, but were you as lucky with live music? Because when I was 12, my parents dropped me off in Wolverhampton, and they
Yeah.
said, go to this gig, don't talk to anyone, don't do drugs, don't smoke, don't literally talk to any strangers, meet us back here, we're trusting you. And it was Green Day on their Dookie tour. So it was fucking awesome. You know, hearing When I Come Around live and She and Basket Case. I came out of that gig, I got in the car and I was like, Mum, Dad, I want to be in a band. I want to be a musician. I want to bleach my hair and dye it green. And all I want to do now is play punk rock for the rest of my life. I was blown
How
away.
how far into that album cycle were they? Were they just
Just
starting?
starting, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, the fact that you were able to witness that
They were only
is,
a
is
three piece then as well. There was no session
yeah.
musicians. There was no extra guitarists. There was no backing tracks. It was literally Billy Joe Armstrong screaming his heart out to like When I Come Around. And oh my God, you just knew like these are going to be huge.
I will say this about Armstrong though, man. Dude, he has kept his consistency at a fever pitch, even with all the trials and tribulations that he's gone through, and what have you. He has remained same key,
Yep.
They play live. They don't. I don't. I think there might be one or two things that they drop a half step down. But like, dude, that guy is consistent. He
He
has
looks the
sounded
same as
for
well. He hasn't just sounded the
yeah.
same. He looks the same. I'm like, you can't be old enough to have kids. Look at you on stage. You look like you're 20 still.
I don't know. He's probably pumping, NAD and probably peptides. That's what they do these days. That's what us mid 40s, early 50s guys do.
That's where I'm going wrong. That's what I need to start doing. Then people be like, Mark, you look fresh again. That's where I'm
Hey
going
man,
wrong, man.
it's you learn like part of the internet now and it being 2026, is you got to be careful with the products you're putting into your body and what have you, but also too, like we have the knowledge of like hormone therapy and all these different things that can, you know, you got to kind of look at age as more of like a disease. You got to
Yeah.
slow it. You got to slow it down. You're never going to stop it. You just got to slow it down. But you got to be careful with what you put in your body though.
Listen, kids, while you're listening, there's some advice for you. Don't just put anything in your body.
Yeah, literally. As far as like the show that I remember for the very first time, like the first show I went to, very very blessed that it was the Beach Boys in the
Oh,
Thompson
fucking
Bowling
hell.
Arena. Yeah, I was 6 years old. Never gonna forget that. Um, and I'll never forget the first concert my dad took me to. It was Trickster, Great White, and the Scorpions. Um, and he
Don't do thing in
snuck
half
me.
measures, do you, man? Like you're going all out. Like to genuinely, people say to me, "What's your top five songs of all time?" And I will always say, "God Only Knows" is in the top five. It's never come out. Like those harmonies, everything from Pet Sounds is perfection, and you got to see it live.
Yeah, pretty astonishing. They were all there, obviously, except for the drummer, the
Yeah,
original drummer.
yeah.
But I don't think Brian had fully. I think they were still. I think they were still in the diagnosis period. With Brian Wilson and what was going on. But the fact of the matter is, man, all you really have to, and it's all art is subjective, music is subjective, but when Paul McCartney, still to this day, says the greatest record of all time, in his opinion, is Pet Sounds, you've got to be doing something right.
Yeah, it stood the test of time pretty well.
But the cool thing to do, as you were saying a minute ago, to all the kids out there, you want to do something cool because we have this wonderful thing called YouTube now. Go on YouTube and just type in God Only Knows Beach Boys vocals only
Oh God, the acapella,
and
unbelievable.
realize that there were no multi tracks. Like that shit's all being done live.
It's wild, man, and that will blow your mind every day.
Yeah. I still go back and listen to like that's why like that's the reason why I love YouTube is I can go down like these rabbit holes of like vocal only things and you can like hear especially if they're actually like it's an account or a channel that actually has the multi tracks of everything. That's always like a game changer because you really get to like dissect like how they did certain things. But that dude, that Brian Wilson cat was that was a God-given gift to this planet.
I was watching a documentary with Butch Vig about Nirvana Nevermind, and he was taking the guitars and all the stuff out and just isolating Kurt's vocals for Something in the Way.
Dude,
Mate, I was blown away. I was sitting there going, wow. Like, it made me re listen to Nevermind, even though I've had it since I was a kid, again with fresh ears. And I was like, oh my God, listen to that cello and the way that Kurt's vocals are doubled up. Like, that's unbelievable.
you did you I don't know what you were watching or like if it was a behind the album or what have you, but do you know the story of Something in the Way and that vocal? Like from Butch Vig was about him sitting and so they're in the studio and they're, Sound City,
Yeah, yeah.
legendary.
That desk.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, the desk that Dave Grohl owns.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
unbelievable.
at 666 or 606 Studios. That's the
Yeah.
desk. That's his soundboard. Um, so long and the short of it, that's where they recorded Nevermind, and so it's just Kurt and Butch. Kurt is behind Butch, sitting kind of down, slumped over a little bit with a guitar, and he's playing Something in the Way. and he's just like, they're trying to kind of figure out how they're going to mic him and all these other kinds of things, and like he's listening to playback on some things, and he stops and he's just letting Kurt do his thing, but like Kurt is just like underneath the bridge, like he's not thinking about it. He's just back to something, and Butch turns around and goes, "Wait right there." Goes out, gets an SM58, just workhorse Shure microphone used on everything. Comes in. By the way, kids, if you want a great mic, you don't have to spend thousands of dollars. Just get an SM58. It's $150. It's going to do everything you want it to do.
And you can't break it, whatever you do.
You can't fucking break it. Comes in, he goes, "Stay right there." Goes, gets the mic, puts it on a stand. He's like, "Right where you are." Puts the microphone. He's like, "Don't move, don't do shit." He's like, puts the microphone right to his mouth. There's a fan. There's a fan like in the room. Turns the fans off. Goes out. Asks. This is, by the way, I think Nick Raskulinik, the producer, was an intern at the time there as well. I can't remember the famous studio, the girl that was the booker there, but like he got her to turn off all the AC units. Like he was like, "I just need him for like, just give me 20 minutes," and turns everything so it was silent. Because he couldn't put him in a booth, didn't have any padding around him. This and the other. Long and short of it, it goes, "Just play it, sing it just like that, guitar and all." So he put a guitar, mic to the guitar, mic to his mouth, did 2 passes, and that's what you hear on the record.
So you've actually recorded him in the control room with him there. That's insane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But they're trying to figure out how to do it, or like, and Kurt was like, "I just want it to sound like I'm not thinking about it." Like, and then he could hear Kurt doing it behind him, because he was just like, "Hang on." And again, man, just instinct, not thinking about it, just do it.
Oh,
What I mean?
I'm now going to go listen to Nevermind and Guns N' Roses all night.
Yeah.
It's late over here,
man. That sounds like a pretty good, that's a good Tuesday night.
It's where it all started for me as well. Literally, that's how I started playing guitar. I learnt Polly. I just sat there and learnt the 4 chords. I was like, "Oh, these are power chords. This is quite simple. It sounds like the acoustic on the record," and that was it.
Once again, man, Kurt Cobain, massively influenced by the Beatles.
Yeah. It's all about the Beatles.
By the Beatles, but also by,
Beach Boys.
It off there. Beach Boys and the Beatles, like two, like guy that was, again, talking about Paul McCartney, Pet Sounds, talking about Brian Whitt, like once again, really, I mean, yes, Kurt Cobain was our Kurt Cobain, but at the time, Kurt Cobain was, for that generation, that was our Brian Wilson.
I was doing a little bit of research today because I've been a huge fan of yours. I've had 2 of your band members already on the podcast. It's like trying to beat Pokemon now and get you all on. But yeah. I never realised it was 25 years ago you started out. I always thought it was about 18, 20 years. 25 years ago this year.
Yep.
Mind blowing, man. Does it feel that old?
Went by like that.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah. Does it feel? No, not at all. It feels like it was a month ago.
Isn't that the greatest feeling? If you get bands on here that have been going over 2 decades, I've had Incubus, I've had Deftones, Silverchair, these bands that are absolutely iconic, to still feel fresh after 25 years, you must be doing something right.
I just think that, listen, it's interesting. This life, this life that this life that is music, because there's a lot of twists and turns and navigating this industry they call the music business, but you got to remember something. It's, business is in the title.
Yeah.
And you're only as good as your last trick to some of the people that are, behind the desk or behind the scenes and what have you. But none of that exists without the artist. And you have to remember that you have a responsibility not only to yourself, but also to your audience. Like I've said this before, in Shinedown, we only have one boss, and that it just happens to be everybody in the audience. But also, Shinedown is everyone's band. And so when I think about that, I care so deeply for the person that's been there from day one, but I care just as much for the person that just found out about us last night. You know what I mean?
I love that, man.
So it's you have to balance it out like that, because this life that we've been given, is not promised. It's a blessing in a lot of ways. And there's always going to be hurdles and obstacles, and you can't be desensitized to that. We all have a day with destiny, if you know what I mean. But that's not to be looked at as like morbid. And I think maybe that's the way I see it is, if there was ever, my son asked me, recently, Dad, what's the meaning of life? And I told him, I said, to live it.
That simple. Just live
Yeah,
it.
man. You
It's
gotta live
mad.
it.
Like I wondered if you could ever put yourself in the mindset of 25 years ago when you started writing those songs. Did you ever have any idea it could be big, or was it just in that moment of let's just have some fun with my friends and see what happens? Or were you, I want to go to the moon and back?
I think for me, it wasn't so much like going to the moon and back. A really good friend of mine once told me the music, you don't pick the music will pick you. And I always found that to be endearing in a lot of ways, which once again puts it back on you, that there's a responsibility in that, because I often will tell people, remember what we do, especially now. You look out and you're like, just remember, no matter what we do matters to a lot of people. So, like, especially when you're touring, you got to remember you are clocking in. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? Because it's no longer about you, it's about them. Like, they're the whole reason you're on that stage. They're the whole reason you have the life you have. They're the boss, you know. Um, but to answer your question, I was always chasing the hair standing up on my arms. I was always, because like when I was getting into bands, I never did any, I was never like, I would show up for auditions. I got a fake ID when I was 14, said I was 18 so that I could play in clubs. That was the only way that was the only way I could play in clubs. And I had to have, and they all knew it was fake, but they were like, I had something.
going in.
They were
Yeah.
like, we know he's 14. Um, you know, but for me, I think that, I would go out and I was playing with guys that were much older than me. Um, but I'd walk into certain auditions and stuff when I was trying to put bands together or what have you, and they would have the quintessential covers that you would do or whatever, and I would just be like, I'm not doing that, and it would turn people off. Sometimes we're like, well, if you don't know how to do these, then like that's not what the gig is. And I would always be like, well, okay, but do you have anything original? Because like I've got some original things like we could work on it together. Some people were really receptive to that, and some people were like, original, like you're a songwriter, whatever, dude. you know but I just never stopped being who I was. So like I never really cared about playing other people's music. I was always like, I have my own stuff and I want to work with people that want to try and work that out with me. So that was always what I was looking towards, was like I wanted to make the hair on the back of my neck stand up, but it be what I was coming up with.
Did you have hurdles really early on with family? Like your parents, were they like, son, get a real job? Like this is a dream. This isn't what happens every day. There's fun out there to have, but we need you to get a proper job. Or were they like, we believe in you, man. You've got something fucking talent here.
It's complex. Um, they were never like, go get a real job. Like, what are you doing? But they were more of the mindset of like, they were just really, really afraid of me being disappointed. Like they saw this kid. Like I knew practically from my mom's like, he came out. It's funny. I lost my mom at the beginning of the year.
I'm
She
sorry to
passed
hear that, dude.
away. I appreciate that. I wrote a song. We wrote a song called 365 about just that, which is, the people that pass on, they may not physically be in front of you anymore, but they're not gone. They're everywhere. Their spirit is still inside of you. And what they taught you, is what you now have to share with the world. So they're always with you. But my mom, her whole thing was always just like, she would tell people, she was like, when he came out, the doctor literally said, the first thing the doctor said, like my mom remembers this. She's just like, he came out and the doctor was like, he's got a good set of lungs. Like, and
Wow, foreshadowing of theirs right
yeah,
there.
and like interesting, and then she would say to people like, they were like, when did like, did you notice when it kind of started? And she was like, yeah, when I think back, he was like four or five.
Wow.
Like, and oddly enough, it was Waylon Jennings. Like, because I love the Dukes of Hazzard, like when I was a kid, like the television show.
So good.
And yeah, it was the show, but it was not necessarily the show. It was the beginning and the end of the episode, because the beginning was the song. You know what I mean? And I remember my grandmother got me a 45 of it, and my mom was like, he would play it over and over and over, like just over and over and over and over and over. And so for me, it was not understanding what the mechanism was that he was doing. Like at 4 or 5 years old, I'm like, I don't know what singing is. You know what I mean? But I was like, I knew enough that I was like the man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What the dude is doing. That's what I
You
want
had the
to do.
connection, didn't you?
Yeah, I was like, whatever the dude is doing, I want to do that.
I love
Yeah,
that
and
from such a young age, man. That's unbelievable.
but yeah, she would, she would say to people, she was just like, he kind of learned how to talk from Waylon Jennings. Like he would sing it, like he would get it, like and it's very very interesting. And to get to the aspect of that, um, look, man, I was not an easy kid to raise. I have a past, like anybody does. Um, it's it definitely was a troubled past. You were talking to a very very lucky individual, um, in regards to the amount of chances that I've had, and to kind of reflect on you know being in situations where I shouldn't have survived, and by the grace of God I did. Because some of my friends that were in the same kind of situations, they didn't
Yeah.
survive. um, and so but at 14, I made a decision that I'm all in. Like, and so with that came a defiance. And with that came an attitude. And with that came, the butting of heads with my mom and my dad. And like, man, I was heavily influenced by like British punk when I was like 13, 14 years old, and like grindcore, thrash metal. I'll never forget one day my dad came. The day, honestly, like my dad changed my life in an afternoon, and he obviously knows about this now, but he came in one day, and I'm just blasting, I think I was listening to the Exploited, and he's like, Brent, can you turn it down just for a minute? And I'm like, I turn it down. He's just like, I have no idea what these people are so mad about. And I'm over here listening, Wendy Williams on the wall and stuff like that.
So good. I
um
can actually picture it. I've got this vision in my head now.
yeah. I got Wendy Williams and the Heavy Metal, the
So
cartoon
good.
poster, the same thing, because she was on that soundtrack. And he's like, I want to give you this. And, just, you don't have to put it in right now, but, maybe give it a listen. So he gives me this tape. He walks out of the room, and I throw it to the side, and don't think anything about it. A week goes by. I'm rummaging around my room or what have you, and I come across this tape. And I was like, oh, this is what my dad gave me. I didn't even take any initiative to look and see what it is, but I'm like, all right, let me just put this in. I'll push play for 10 seconds, and then I'm throwing it out of the way. And the very first thing that came out of the speakers once I put the tape in and pushed play was "These Arms of Mine."
No way.
And it was Otis Redding.
Fuck.
And I was like, it the closest thing I can come to it, it's like kind of like eating chocolate cake for the first time, or like opening a door to a completely different universe that you had no idea that even existed, you know, because Otis Redding got me to Al Green, which got me to Percy Sledge, which got me to Sam Cooke, to Marvin Gaye, to Nina Simone, to Ella Fitzgerald, to Billie Holiday. That then in turn got me to Led Zeppelin, which Led Zeppelin got me to Black Sabbath.
Oh
Black
man.
Sabbath got me to Bob Marley. Um, and so like Otis Redding, like I was in this thrash core heavy world and what have you, but then just got catapulted, you know, into, you know, just this world of Motown and funk and R&B. So that's where like the dynamic of like the soul singer came kind of um I think, you know, he was always in me, but
Yeah.
like Otis like unlocked it. You know what I mean? And didn't like twist it, or like Otis like grabbed it and like pulled the gate open.
It's the
You
full
know?
first bite of that chocolate cake with really
Yeah.
nice icing, yeah.
Yeah, dude. It was just you know, the first time that I felt like true euphoria.
Yeah.
And so you know, that's what took me in a different route. Also just um lyrically, and like how you could use the voice as an instrument. You know, it's one of the reasons why I like it was such a, like the last person I can think of that I really heard that was more of a newer generation was Amy Winehouse. She's the last person where I was like, that's the last person I heard use their voice as an instrument.
Yeah.
You know, and so, but the funny thing about it was, is so I get signed by Steve Robertson with the help of a producer named Michael Beinhorn. If people don't know who Michael Beinhorn is, he produced Super Unknown by Soundgarden. He did Whole Celebrity Skin. He did What Hits by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. He did the Untouchables record by Korn. He did all these records. Worked with Herbie Hancock back in the day. All this. And so when I got signed to Atlantic with the first band out of Knoxville, Tennessee. Michael was part of that signing with Steve Robertson. By the way, Steve Robertson was our A&R at Atlantic Records for over 20 years. He's still a dear, dear friend of mine. I learned everything from him in A&R. Um, uh, Anyhow, moving forward, you know, I remember, so we get signed. Michael comes back with the band that I'm in. He's working with the band on certain things, but like at the end of the night, I take Mike back to the hotel. Like the band that I was in, we played out like way, 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 way out in the sticks. Like it was a good 55 minutes to an hour to get Mike from like his hotel there and then back. So it
Wow.
was, you know, so it was traveling. And so, you know, when he was a part of, you know, coming back and kind of honing some of this and kind of seeing what was going on, one night I take him back to the hotel and I have to ask him, because one of my biggest influences in the world and one of my probably number one vocal teachers, even though I never met him, but he was probably my greatest teacher, was Chris Cornell.
Yeah.
You know,
The best.
I, yeah, man. And so I have to, because, and my favorite Soundgarden record of all time is Super Unknown.
Yeah. It's
And
untouchable.
which is the album that Mike produced. I believe, and if I'm not mistaken, Mike produced and engineered that record, and Brendan O'Brien mixed it.
Unbelievable.
Um, so I'm asking him, you know, and Mike's cool, and Michael's cool as shit. Like Michael's got an interesting like Michael has an interesting everything in the lure of music. Super interesting guy, genius. Like Sonic might be a little over the top, but you want him, like some of these guys and girls, like you want them to be over the
Of
top. It
course.
just
They wouldn't be them,
it's
would they?
yeah. And but a lovely, lovely, just lovely man. Um, and so getting to the point, we're talking about Super Unknown. I've got, you know, he's like, you can ask me anything you want, Brent. I can tell you when I ask me. And I just started asking him all these questions. But the thing that I found incredible was he goes, well, there was this one moment in the we were finishing up most of the album, but we didn't have everything. And I said to Chris, I go, well, Chris showed him something one day, and it was just kind of like the beginning pieces of like a not very very thought out melody, but like Mike kind of heard it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he noticed something about what it was, kind of what road it was going down that Chris didn't necessarily see. And so Mike leaves the studio. This is when they're making Super Unknown. So Mike leaves the studio and goes to Tower Records. They're in Los Angeles. He goes into Tower Records, and Mike buys every single available CD or box set of one particular artist. And that artist was Frank Sinatra.
Oh man.
And so the following day, because they were going into the weekend, because they didn't work on Saturdays and Sundays. They weren't in the studio. Like they Monday through Friday, and then they didn't work the weekends because they needed time to reflect on what they were doing, come back in fresh. So Mike, I think I'm getting most of this story right. Mike gives him these CDs. He goes, I want you to listen to this. It's just like a stack of stuff. You know what I mean? And Chris is like, the fuck?
Jesus, man. Yeah.
And he's like, okay, and he's like, just listen to it. Like the thing you were playing me the other day, you may find something in this. And I shit you not, man. I can't remember if it was the following week or it was the next week, or it was in a 7-day period from the time he had given him
Yeah.
the music. And so Chris comes in and he's like, hey, I wrote something, but it's way, way different than everything else we're doing right now. But do you want to hear it? And Mike's like, absolutely. And so he sits down and he plays this song in its entirety on the acoustic. But he starts the song and he goes, in my eyes
Oh man.
and indisposed and
Ah,
in disguises no one knows, has a face that lights the way in the sun in my disgrace. So he literally listened to Sinatra,
and
and
wrote
if
Black
you
Hole
listen
Sun.
to and
Mental.
if you listen to Black Hole Sun, he's fucking crooning because he listened to Sinatra.
And then when you did that, vocal then, it made me think of Frankie Blue Eyes. I literally was like, I see it now. How have I
It's
never seen that after listening to that
Well,
record a
because you
million
probably never knew
times?
this. You probably never knew the
No.
story.
I'm going to tell everyone I know. Well, actually, they can hear it on this podcast, but
Yeah, but that's the thing about like these moments in time. So I'm gonna go, back like the parents, my mom and my dad and everything. So I'm signed for nine
yeah.
months. I'm signed for 9 months to this band. Mike helped out, kind of this and that and the other. But then Steve sends me out to Los Angeles and to have me work with these different songwriters. So like I worked with Desmond Child, Tommy Sims, John Shanks. All these different people, and he did it as a test. He did it to see if he put me in front of like people that were like songwriters,
Yeah.
what would happen. And it was very tense because the guys that I was with, they're like, what do you mean it's only Brent going? And like that whole thing kind of happened. And he's like, yeah, only Brent's going because we're trying to figure some stuff out, because Steve Robertson, he's like, there's no songs. Like I gotta see something, and it was enough that when I came back, these songs were like pretty wild and good and what have you. And then we got dropped.
Oh, fuck.
And then 2 months later, I get a call from Steve Robertson, and I was getting ready to either go to New York or I was going to Los Angeles. But I get a call from Steve, and he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, or he's like, "How you doing?" I'm like, "I'm good, man. How are you?" He's like, "I'm doing good." And like no animosity. I knew what he had to do. You know what I mean? I got it. He goes, I'm glad you're doing good. I want to re-sign you. And I'm like, you just dropped me. And
Yeah.
he was like, I don't want to sign you in the band. I just want to sign you to a development deal. And I didn't know what a development deal meant, which is an artist development deal, which was, you know, what Atlantic Records, who we're still on to this day, 24 years in, Ahmet Ertegun, like he developed this, you know. So I said yes. And I remember the day right before I left, after I signed the contract. But my mom had breakfast with me the day before I left. And I remember her looking at me and she was just like, I don't know. I don't know or pretend to understand this life that you're going after. And I'm not going to try to, because obviously, you know, there's something here that is just, you know, above my pay grade, you know. But if you stay here, you're going to die here. And I don't want that for you. You can always come back home. This will always be your home. But me and your dad don't want you to stay. We want you to go. We want you to run like hell out of here, and not away from anything, but we want you to run towards whatever this life that you are trying to build is, that we may not understand, but we want you to understand this. You're our son, and we love you, and we support you. So go. And it's not that I needed their permission, but I did. You know what I mean?
Unbelievable.
And that then took me on a 3-year journey, and Shinedown was created.
I feel like, and I'm not just saying this, I've done nearly 500 episodes of this podcast. I feel like we've just scratched the surface today. I feel like maybe when you're back in the UK doing your huge arena tour, we should just sit down and for a whole
Sure,
afternoon and just do
sure.
fucking. There's no one in the background saying 20 minutes left, 10 minutes left, 5 minutes. We can just talk.
Yeah. No, again, I'm long-winded. I apologize.
No,
Good, but
no,
I'm trying to
I
give you
love
a,
it
you
because
know,
I've not. I want to talk about your band's history. I want to talk about the new album. I want to talk about the tour dates. We'll be here till 4 in the morning. That's not fair on anyone, man.
especially Kirsten. She's like, "Oh, bugger! If I got to listen to this again."
Well, hopefully she's not heard that story about Black Hole Sun because I don't know
No,
anyone
I
that
don't think
knows that
she has.
story.
I don't think she
It's
has.
mind blowing. What I want to do is quickly talk about the new album because I have been sent a advance copy, and
Awesome.
for a band that have been going 25 years, truly, and I know fans are very quick to judge, and I've done it on podcasts before and then seen in the comments. I think it could be your best work.
Thank you
I
very
really
much.
truly believe
I
it.
take it as a compliment. It took a year and a half to make it.
It's incredible, dude. Like I'm singing the harmonies. I'm got those riffs in my head. The production, everything about it feels like a band that are putting out their debut again. Like Pearl Jam 10, and then you hear them again doing binaural, and you hear them doing, verses. It always feels like it could be a debut because they're putting everything into it, and you still got that feeling, and it's like you've got the energy and the hunger, and it bleeds into this album like it's your whole world again and chance to put Shinedown back on the map. It's unbelievable, dude.
I thank you so very, very much. I don't take any of that for granted, and I'm very, very appreciative of that. But I mean, the the elements to these things too, when you're doing this, obviously it's a band, and you know we're all contributing at the highest level that we can. But the thing that separates us from, I think, I don't want to say it like that. Let me say it in a different way. Um, we are very, very lucky and very, very aware that we are, myself and Zach Myers and Barry Kirch, in a band with a gentleman by the name of Eric Bass.
Yeah.
And Eric Bass, for people that don't know, yes, that's his last name. It's not pronounced bass. It is Bass. And yes, he does play the bass. But he is probably a bass player last. when you are in a band with someone that has a skill set like this man, it is a completely different level. So, for people that don't know, Eric has mixed, engineered, and produced the last three full length Shinedown records. His first one was Attention, Attention. The second one was Planet Zero. And now
Yeah.
with eight. So, when you're a band that can do the production in house, and, granted, look, Michael Beinhorn, Rob Cavallo, Bob Marlette, Tony Battaglia, all of these great engineers and producers that we've worked with, over the years, you get a skill set. Eric's mentor, really and truthfully was a guy named Doug McKean who worked with Rob Cavallo. Speaking of which, Green Day, Rob
Yep.
Cavallo, Doug McKean. Doug McKean was the engineer on American Idiot. And Doug McKean was the engineer on The Black Parade by My Chemical Romance. Doug McKean was the engineer for Sound of Madness.
Wow.
And Doug started doing engineering with Eric on Attention, Attention, and then did Planet Zero with us as well. We lost Doug in during the Planet Zero album cycle. But Eric, it's so interesting that you brought up like this album feels like a debut, because Eric actually presented that to us at a certain point. He was like, this needs to feel like it's the first thing.
That's crazy.
Yeah, he's like, this needs to feel like this is a debut,
Because I didn't want to
And
say it
we
in an offensive way. I'm saying it's got the energy and the blood and the
no.
sweat and the tears into it that sounds
Yeah.
like that first record that everyone always tries to repeat again in their life.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing about the way that we've done what we've done is we've always maintained that we are an album making band.
Yeah.
So it's never been about singles with us. Like, it's always been about, like, don't go into it and say, okay, I've got my three, maybe four singles. The rest of it, don't worry about it. We can just have some filler. That is the complete antithesis of like how we look at things. Like, that is not at all how we look at it. Like, if it's on the record, it's because we wanted the world to hear it. You know what I mean? And so you have to be able to, and granted, we're able in 2025, 2026, we started working on the album. We started the writing process for this record in 2024.
Wow.
But because we've had a certain trajectory, our label, because here's the other thing too, like, Indigood Entertainment is our management and Atlantic Records is our label, Warner Music Group, but that's been us for the last 24 years. So that in and of itself in this industry nowadays is very unheard of, to be with the same people for that long, especially
Yeah.
especially a record label. I've been through 4 restructurings,
Wild.
and but the reality is that, Eric brings something to the table where, yes, he's a band member and yes, he's in the band, but he knows how to take the band hat off and put a producer hat off, and like vice versa. And he's just extremely good at handling everybody in the studio and understanding how the workflow should be. And each day can be different, but he has to prioritize what needs to get done. There's a lot of like grunt work that has to happen, and there's a lot of like very ethereal and creative things that are happening. But for a year and a half, this man did not sleep. It definitely is a labor of love. You know,
He's been on the podcast twice, and I've got so much respect for him every time I speak to him. I just think his solo album was great. His work with you guys, he's a machine. He's an absolute machine.
he's a machine with a heartbeat and a conscience
Yeah.
and a soul,
Yeah.
but he would tell you that this particular, not that this was, we never look at a breaking point, but because you put so much into it, because it's your band,
Yeah, of course.
you
It's your
know,
name on it.
right. There has to be a boundary in which everybody like has their own superpower in the band. And I think the guys look to me to know when it's time for me to say, okay, it's time to master. Because
Nice.
the mastering is the completion before you give it to the
That's the
world.
final
And
brush of paint.
yeah,
Yeah.
and we've been very, very fortunate that the last 7 records that we've done, our first record was mastered by Howie Weinberg, did a fantastic job. But the last 7 records have been mastered by Mr. Ted Jensen. So I always talk to, or I always say, like, as soon as Ted's name pops up,
It's time.
it not only is it times like Christmas morning, because
Yeah.
you know
I love that.
he's the cherry on top. But the reality is that you know Eric will refine and refine and refine, but somebody has to call it. You know what I mean?
It's so
Because
important, man. Otherwise, you could just be painting forever. You need to put the brush
yeah,
down.
yeah, and I mean Barry and Zach are so good at allowing me and Eric to kind of live in that world of knowing when it's time. Um, but it is very much a band. But here's the thing, and I think Zach has said this before. He's like, you're never finished writing a song or finished. You're never finished, making an album. You just run out of time.
That's fair.
You know what I mean? Like at a certain point, someone's got to say it's time to like it's time to go
Yeah.
because you gotta you and there is an element of like for Eric, I know how emotional it is for him working on this day in and day out and then being like, now I got to give it to the world, and then they get to have their opinion. They get to decide. You know what I mean? But the thing is, we're not capable of walking into the studio. I think we touched on this. You can't write songs because you want to be famous, and you can't write songs because you want to win an award. You have to write them because you have something to say, you know? And in that moment in time, what do you have to say, and how loud are you going to say it?
Incredible. That's
And
the quote of
yeah,
the day. My very final question, because I've asked this to every guest that's been on at 490 episodes, so everyone that's been on has had the same final question. It's not an
okay,
easy one.
okay,
What happens? I edit this episode, I make it all polished, it all sounds beautiful, they hear all these incredible stories, but then as the very
mm-hmm.
end comes to the podcast and the listeners are ready, the outro music is different on every episode of Mark and Me because the guest gets to choose the song that plays out on every episode. So that's why every episode is different. The
Mm-hmm.
reason I ask for you to choose it on the spot is going to be difficult because you've probably got 100 songs in your head. But what's a song that means an awful lot to you, that you absolutely adore, that comes to your heart and soul when I ask the question, that you would love to be played on the end of today's episode? Not Shinedown. We don't need to promote it because I'm going to have clips
Yeah,
of your
yeah,
music all the way through. Only
yeah,
one
yeah.
person out of nearly 500 has picked their own band. That was it. Um, what's the song that came to your heart and soul today? And we've talked about some legendary albums, artists. I don't know where you're going to go with this, but it can be only one. And you can't email Kirsten in a few days and be like, I want to change my mind. You've got to be like, this is what we're doing.
Don't think twice. It's all right, Bob Dylan.
Why did that come to your heart before any other one?
I think because why that would be played is that song is all about a rebirth and
Nice.
about understanding that you had a thought process of what you thought the road should be that you need to go down, but thankfully you had an epiphany and you decided to go the other way.
Oh man, this is deep.
Yeah. And he says in there to the other people or to the person or to the world or, whatever the direction you were going, not in a slight way or anything like that. But he says in that one part, he's like, you know, you're the reason, that I must be, traveling on, but I also remember where it's like, you know, Don't think twice. It's all right. You
My night's now going to be Guns N' Roses, Nirvana, and Bob Dylan. So much for an early night, man.
Yeah, I know, man. You're gonna be fucking sobbing.
Thank you, dude.
You'll be screaming, hollering, and crying all at the same time. Sounds like a blast.
But I can't fucking wait.
Yeah, man. That's what you want.
This podcast has been a long time coming, and I just want to say thank you. Genuinely.
You're welcome, man. Thank
It
you.
means the
We'll do it
absolute
again.
world. So when you're over here, which I'll promote at the end of the podcast, for the new tour, which is the first time in years you've been over here to headline, it's going to be incredible. We're going to sit down.
We can't wait.
We're going to sit down, we're going to party, and we'll talk more. Because this is too good just to be a one part. I've had Alex Winter on 4 times, Neil Blomkamp 4 times. Let's get you back, man. Part 2, sometime
Bring
this
it on,
year.
man. I will always accept the invitation.
Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. The album is fucking awesome. I can't wait
Thank
for people
you.
to hear it. And it's a bit weird that I picked up on the whole debut thing. That's fried my head a bit because I thought I didn't
Absolutely,
want to
man.
offend you. I didn't want to be like,
No,
it is.
that it was very endearing that you would say. As soon as you said it, I was like, well, that's not the
Yeah.
universe.
Thank you, my friend. Enjoy
You're
the rest of your
welcome.
press. Enjoy the rest of everything, and good luck with the US tour.
Thanks, man. I'll see you soon. All right.
Out here in the wide open, I want but nothing. All these mixed emotions trying to tell me something. I might be scared of what I'll miss.
So there it is. There's my interview with me and the absolute awesome Brent Smith from Shinedown. What a great guy. And now we can talk about it. Him singing Black Hole Sun by Soundgarden. My God, if that didn't send shivers down your spine, you're dead inside, because that was unbelievable. When I listened to that back editing, honestly, I just was in silence. I was like, this is incredible. So now I'm going to try and make him do a full version of that when I see him in the UK later this year when they're touring. And I can't believe it, playing with Coheed and Cambria. It's unbelievable. And talking of unbelievable, their new album is out now. It's called 8. Like I said on today's interview, I think it's some of their strongest work they've ever done. Everyone I know is a huge fan, loves it, so go and invest in it. Go and listen and get yourself a ticket and get yourself the album. You will not be disappointed. As always, guys, if you've loved today's episode, you know what I'm going to say. Please share the episodes. All of you out there have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Use any of those. Just share the episode. It means the world to me. If I see the artwork from the episode on someone's story or as a retweet on their Facebook, it really goes a long way. Someone sees the poster for Shinedown, sees the episode, clicks play, and before you know it, they've subscribed to Mark and Me from simply you taking the moment to click a couple of buttons and share the episode. So please keep on doing this. Also, I do have a Patreon account. If you go on to markandme.com, there's a link on there. You can sign up for as little as £1 a month. And for that pound, you get a episode each month called The Lost Tapes, which is episodes that are only available for people on Patreon. You also get a welcome pack, which includes stickers and a very, very rare exclusive enamel badge and a monthly newsletter. I also am going to be running exclusive competitions with Vice Press coming up every single month, exclusive to people on my Patreon with some amazing prizes. And talking of those guys, let's give them a shout out. They're one of the sponsors of Mark and Me. If you want a licensed print or maybe an incredible VHS or anything to do with amazing art and collectibles, head over to vicepress.com, add anything to the basket and add the discount code MarkandMe26 and you save yourself 10% off your purchase. It's a no-brainer. And thanks to the guys at Richer Sounds, if you want to get yourself anything to do with TVs, a projector, a Sonos, some new headphones, they won't be beaten on price. So go to either their website, richersounds.com, or visit any of their high street stores. Right. It is still not slowing down anytime soon. You've had 12 interviews only a couple of days ago. You've now got this one, and it'll only be a couple of days until you get the next slice of Mark and Me. And then it's Download Festival. It is non-stop at the moment, but I love it. I appreciate it all. And until the next episode, look after yourself, go and listen to Shinedown, and I'll speak to you all very soon.
Well, it ain't no use to sit and wonder why, baby, even you don't know by now. And it ain't no use to sit and wonder why, baby, it'll never do somehow. When your rooster crows at the break of dawn, look out your window and I'll be gone. You're the reason I'm a-traveling on, but don't think twice, it's alright. And it ain't no use in turning on your light, babe, the light I never knowed. And it ain't no use in turning on your light, babe, I'm on the dark side of the road. But I wish there was something you would do or say to try and make me change my mind and stay. But we never did too much talking anyway. But don't think twice, it's alright. So it ain't no use in calling out my name, gal, like you never done before. And it ain't no use in calling out my name, gal, I can't hear you anymore. I'm a-thinking and a-wondering, walking down the road. I once loved a woman, a child I am told. I give her my heart, but she wanted my soul. But don't think twice, it's alright. So long, honey, baby, where I'm bound, I can't tell. Goodbye is too good a word, baby, so I just say fare thee well. I ain't a-saying you treated me unkind. You could have done better, but I don't mind. You just kind of wasted my precious time. But don't think twice, it's alright.